you should hook up with the old ones of your tribe. But it's the only way to learn.
Our first story takes us to Chicago in 1987. It's a normal November evening, and thousands of viewers across the city are tuning in to WGN to catch the nightly news. But suddenly, the broadcast takes a dark and twisted turn. The screen flickers, goes dark for a second, and then comes back to life. But it's not the news. It's something else entirely. What appears is a strange masked figure dressed to look like the popular TV character Max Headroom. His plastic, frozen face wears a grin, but his eyes are empty. He moves awkwardly, shifting in and out of the frame, laughing in a distorted, unsettling tone. For a full minute, he murmurs disjointed phrases, some of which are barely comprehensible. But what's clear is that this isn't a broadcast mistake. Someone has taken over. The figure mocks, laughs, mutters something about dirty gloves. And then, just as abruptly, the screen returns to normal. It's one of the most famous unsolved TV hacks in history. The Max Headroom incident has remained a complete mystery, with no one ever identified, no clear motive uncovered, and no explanation for how it happened.
Evening HBO from Captain Midnight, $12.95 a month? No way. Showtime movie channel, beware. An objection to...
Next, we turn back to 1986, to a strange, middle-of-the-night broadcast incident involving HBO. Unlike other hacks, this one wasn't as much terrifying as it was confusing, and a little surreal. On a late April night, subscribers tuned in to watch HBO as usual, but during the broadcast, their screen was suddenly replaced by a jarring message that read, "Captain Midnight says $12.95 a month? No way." For over 4 minutes, this text remained on screen, interrupting HBO's planned programming. The hack was later traced to a Florida satellite technician who went by the pseudonym Captain Midnight. Apparently, he'd had enough of the recent price hikes HBO had been imposing on subscribers and decided to take matters into his own hands. Although he wasn't a figure of horror, Captain Midnight struck at the heart of the idea that broadcasts were secure, inviolable spaces. If he could take over HBO, who's to say someone else couldn't? It's chilling in a different way, knowing someone could reach right through the static and make themselves heard to thousands. After being caught, Captain Midnight was fined and his equipment confiscated.
Florida man today faces a $5,000 fine and a year's probation. The man, known as Captain Midnight, illegally interfered with an HBO satellite transmission last April. Robert Hager has the story.
John McDougal, #1 on the Federal Communications Commission wanted list.
Our last story is one of those that leaves you questioning the fine line between fiction and terrifying reality. It's 1975 in the town of Scarfolk, a place already shrouded in urban legends. Residents were sitting down for a typical evening of TV on the Scarfnada network. But what they got instead was anything but normal. Out of nowhere, the screen flickered. Then it went black. A moment later, the image of a skull appeared, cold and unflinching, with whispers creeping out of the speakers. The message was simple but chilling. "We watch you while you sleep." Over and over, the voice repeated it, almost like it was taunting the audience. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the broadcast ended. People were horrified. Was this some kind of sick prank? A rogue signal? The rumors started almost immediately, and one name kept coming up: the Scarfolk Council. If you know anything about Scarfolk, you'll know its council was infamous for its bizarre and controlling tactics, and some believed this was one of them. A year later, a BBC documentary uncovered something even darker. According to the report, the council had been secretly drugging the local water supply with tranquilizers. But it didn't stop there. They had hired mediums. Yes, mediums, tasked with watching over people's homes, singing lullabies outside their windows, and even breaking into bedrooms. These mediums would hide under beds or in wardrobes, listening to dreams and mutterings. Using a device called a nightmare, they recorded everything to catch so-called dream criminals. It's hard to believe, but it worked. People were punished for thoughts and crimes they didn't even know they'd committed. And that chilling broadcast, many believe it was the council's way of keeping people in check, a warning to stay in line. To this day, no one knows for sure who was behind the broadcast or why it was aired. But one thing's for sure. If you lived in Scarfolk in the 70s, you didn't just lock your doors at night. You locked your thoughts.